So welcome to the second TSG Multimedia video podcast. We had such a great response from our first video podcast that was done kind of on a lark that we've decided to go ahead and make a monthly video podcast that we'll release on the first of each month. And it will contain the TSG Multimedia Roundhouse, which is where Dan talks about his modeling projects and some trains that he's been working on. So welcome, and tell us what we're looking at here, Dan, and what you did.
Okay, well, this is an Athearn SW1500. It's an old blue box model that I've had for quite a few years. I've mentioned this one on the podcast before. I basically completely redid it. I stripped it down, repainted it, reinstalled the DCC, and put in all new lights. It had a loc sound decoder in it before, and I used that one again. But I also put in a TCS fleet lighter because the lighting, I wanted to make all of the lights on it work. So to do that, I needed 7 functions.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and the loc sound 3.5 only has 4, so I needed some extra functions, so that's where the fleet lighter comes in. So I basically have the fleet lighter running the number boards and the red emergency light, and the loc sound 3.5 is running the headlight and the white oscillating lights.
Okay, well, let's see what this thing has.
Yeah, so the first thing, which I'm kind of happy with, is the number boards, which light up. That uses a pair of sub-miniature surface mount LEDs that I buried in the boxes behind the number boards. And I did a little write-up on the website showing how I did all that and wired it up and everything, if anybody wants to look at that.
Okay. So that would be www.tsgmultimedia.com, and then look for the model section?
Yeah, it's on the model section, and I think under projects, because this has been an ongoing project that I've had. Like I said, I mentioned it before, and I've had it on the website for a while, but I keep updating it as I do more to it. This is actually a model of a locomotive that I photographed in South San Francisco in 1995, so I've been trying to reproduce its appearance as it was then.
For 15 years.
Yeah, well, I didn't. It was originally, it had a stock Athearn paint scheme on it, which had a different number, but part of what I did when I redid it was to change the number.
Okay.
So anyway, I also have the red emergency light on, which on the real ones is supposed to only come on when the train goes into emergency, an emergency brake application, but it looks neat, so I thought, why not light it up?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having something look kind of cool on there.
Yeah.
It does look pretty cool.
And that uses I had these little 2mm red LEDs, so that's what is powering that. And I also used these are all done with fiber optics, the headlights and the emergency light, and I also used a little bit of red paint, clear red paint, Tamiya acrylic red, on the lens. Not so much for when it's lit, because the LED's already red, so it's going to have red light anyway, but for when it's not lit, so it'll look right, because the real ones had a red lens on them, I believe. So anyway, and then of course I got the regular headlight, and then the oscillating headlight.
Okay, so let me count this now. That's 1, 2, 3. That's, 4 functions right there?
Yeah, you got the oscillating headlight as one function, the headlight is one function, the red emergency light is one function, and the number boards are on their own function.
Okay, but you said you needed 7 though, right?
Right, because I also did the lights on the other end, so maybe let's take a look at the other end of the locomotive.
Okay, go ahead and turn that around. Okay, so now we've turned it around. What is this now? You're going to show the other 3, or what's left on here?
I'm going to show the other lights. I got the, again, the red light.
So I can see the guys in there.
Yeah, that was another thing. That, being a blue box, this isn't like the new Athearn SW1500s that have the cool cab interior. It had nothing in the cab. So I basically built a cab interior for it that ended up being of a similar design to the one that Athearn puts in their new ready-to-roll models.
So which one of those is you, and which one of them is me? Well, actually, I'm on the right side, so I guess I'm the guy. That would make me the... Let's see, which way would this thing actually drive? That would make me the fireman on the right side on this direction, right?
No, the forward's the other way.
I get to be the engineer this time?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, and I put a couple of Pricer or Prezer, I'm not sure how you say that, but anyway, a couple of figures in there, so it would have a crew. And
yeah, but they're not moving though.
Well,
you didn't put much detail into this.
Yeah, I know. I was slacking off. Anyway,
Do they blink or anything like that?
the crew.
Yeah.
Well, it's so small you can't see it very well.
But they do, right?
Yeah, of course. Anyway, I got the headlight, of course, and the oscillating light. So this has its full SP light package. The only thing it doesn't have are class lights, and that's because on the engine that I photographed in 1995, the class lights have been blanked out and plated over. So I used some BLMA photo etched cover plates to blank out the class lights on this model too.
So it's actually accurate to your picture, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. It's as accurate as I've been able to get it. Like I said, I still have a few details and some painting touch-up here and there to take care of, but it is running and works pretty well actually for an old blue box. It also has an upgraded motor, and I've basically done everything you could possibly do to tune this thing and make it run good. So it seems to work pretty well.
Hey Tom, it's Paul. I need those files. I'm on my way now, heading to the train. Sorry, I'll be in and out all morning, so please get me what I need. I'll send Emily an email in case you don't get this. Excuse me.
Near train tracks, stay focused, stay alive.
You may not be able to tell on the picture, but we've actually switched to N scale now. So
Yeah, we haven't talked about any N scale for a couple of podcasts, so I figured that it was about time, since I do model in N scale also. And this is an Atlas SD50 that was an unnumbered unit that was painted for the Rio Grande. So I decided, since in my N scale world I'm modeling basically the present time, or close anyway, I modeled it as a patched Union Pacific engine. So I'm sure there's some Rio Grande people out there cringing at that. But anyway.
change happens.
Yeah. So what I did with this one is I added some detail. I used some BLMA cover plates to model the removed oscillating light from the nose and the removed class lights. I don't know if that shows up too well. They just look kind of dark. But I also had...
hold on now, that's just above the windshield?
No, that's right in here on the nose.
Oh, okay, in the nose.
Yeah,
oh, I
'cause
see it now. Okay, yeah.
The Denver and Rio Grande units used to have an oscillating headlight in the nose.
Okay.
SP used to put the headlight in the nose and the oscillating light up on the cab. So the Rio Grande was kind of the opposite. Later on, a lot of them had their headlights or their oscillating lights taken out. So
It's probably too much maintenance cost, huh?
Yeah, they do have moving parts, especially as ditch lights kind of came into being. They a lot of them ended up with those gone. But anyway, I also, while you could still get them, I managed to scrounge up some Sunrise ditch light castings for this engine. Those are almost impossible to find now, but me being somebody who likes to have all the lights work, I used a couple of sub-miniature surface mount LEDs to actually light up the ditch lights on this engine, and they...
This is too much suspense for me. I
Too
gotta
much
see
suspense?
this.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Oh.
So anyway, and they do, if I hold the F2 key to...
Oh, look at that.
They flash.
On an N scale.
Yeah.
Now, I notice they don't really flash all the way off, though, huh?
Yeah, well, this is LEDs are a little bit trickier than bulbs sometimes when you do stuff like this. Not all decoders handle them, to the point where they would probably flash as much as the real ones. But
Right.
Anyway, it looks cool enough, I think. This one has a Digitrax decoder in it, and the Digitrax decoder has 6 functions, so that was plenty to do the headlights plus the additional ditch lights. And
Quick question. Is the headlight above the windshield and the number boards the same LED?
no, it's the LED that came on the decoder.
Oh, 'cause
so
it
it's a little
looks
bit
like
more
this-
yellow or something.
Well, it looks like a different color, but it also, can you turn the number boards off with this? Or is it all
no,
the
it's
same?
all the same.
Oh, that's too bad. Because they
Yeah.
kind of blend all together when you look
Yeah,
at it.
it's. I mean, I suppose if I wanted to, I could figure out some way to do that.
That would look really cool to have the headlight separate from those.
Yeah, it would. So that's something I might think about doing eventually.
Cool.
But anyway, it's. I like it with the ditch lights on because you don't see that a lot in N-scale unless the engines are like some of the Catos that come with it already from
That's
the
right.
factory.
I have a couple of those P42 Genesis units
Yeah.
that had the built-in ditch lights. They look pretty good too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that nobody seems to be really making any ditch light castings very much right now. So even if you want to do it, it can be hard because just getting the parts, you know. But the good thing is with the sub-miniature LEDs, you can actually fit them behind the ditch light casting, and you know they almost disappear. So you know they're pretty cool for that. You know, you can actually do this, whereas a few years ago you couldn't have even thought about it.
Runs smoothly too. That's nice.
Yeah, it's a pretty good little locomotive.
Steamfest 2. In March 2010, the Niles Canyon Railway in Fremont, California hosted Steamfest 2, featuring 4 working tank engines. This fully digital production is proudly presented by TSG Multimedia. The event featured 2 Niles Canyon Railway locomotives, Quincy Railroad No. 2 and Robert Dollar No. 3, and visiting locomotives Granite Rock No. 10 from the California State Railroad Museum, and Mason County Logging No. 7 from Willits, California. Join us for spectacular pass-bys, views from the train, and even a quadruple header. See each of the 4 engines working separately and together. Our cameras were on hand for 3 days in a row to record every aspect of this unique event. Don't miss this spectacular display of steam in beautiful Niles Canyon.
Okay, so what do we have here now?
Okay, so I have some Atlas Evans boxcars, which are, I think they're about 53 foot or something, double plug door boxcars. This first one is one that I talked about on the podcast before, but we haven't actually seen it unless people have gone to the website. This is an Evans car in the Evans paint scheme that was patched for the Santa Fe with the SFLC marks, reporting marks. So what I did with this one is I got rid of the original number and reporting marks and then re-stenciled it and put new decals for the number. And I did that on both sides and the ends. So I have this other car, which I'm going to do the same thing to, because Santa Fe got a bunch of these, and some of them were left in, some of them were repainted into a sort of mineral brown color, but other ones were left in their original schemes and just repatched. So I'm going to do the same thing to this car. I'm going to remove the number, and I'm going to stencil over the reporting mark here. But before I do that, I wanted to show the bottom, because this car, when I first put I put KD 58s on it for couplers, and when I did that, they were a little bit high. The coupler height wasn't quite correct. So what I ended up doing, I had to do a lot of surgery. This is another Evans car, and the way they are stock is they have at least this one has a pin that holds the truck on. I can get it off here. There. And it has this little nub on here, which makes it really difficult to shave the bolster, because it's, you know, without doing something about that. And there isn't much room to shave the top of the truck, because it's pretty thin up here already. You could take a little material off, and I think I did. on the other car, but it ended up being not enough. I did end up modifying the truck. This is the truck from the cream and orange car, and I've shaved it down in this area. This is the one from the new car that just came out of the box, and it's got a little ridge there, so I did cut that off and file it down, but that wasn't quite enough to get the height down. So what I ended up having to do was I completely cut off this little nub and sanded it flat, or filed it flat, and then I filed it down a little bit until I finally got the height correct. And then I tapped it for a 256 screw and used a screw to mount the truck rather than the little pin that was in it originally. So that seems to hold it in there pretty well. So anyway, and doing all that got the couplers down to the pretty much exact, right on. I also used, the reason it looks a little silvery is I used a little bit of KD Greasem, which is a graphite lubricant, as just a way to make sure that they pivot freely.
Oh, so the truck moves.
Yeah, because you want to, you always want the trucks to be able to pivot. Otherwise, it'll derail going around a corner. So anyway, okay, so I have a micro brush and with some chameleon paint stripper that on it, I just dipped it in, and I'm just going to rub it over the number. And it's probably going to take a little while, but I'm going to just get it a little wet. I don't want to get it too wet because I don't want to damage, if possible, the orange part. I'm just trying to get the number off. So just a little bit wet. You can kind of gently rub it. Sometimes it's best to just let it sit for a few minutes. But you got to keep an eye on it because, again, you don't want it to eat through the paint underneath if you can help it.
Yeah, it's too bad they don't make some kind of a, I don't know if it's even possible to do, but wouldn't it be neat if they had a solvent that would only remove one color?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, let's use the black solvent remover. Here we go.
Yeah.
Just put a whole bunch on there, Don't worry about it.
Or if you could just, use Photoshop on real world stuff.
Oh, can you imagine that? I'd look a lot better.
Yeah. That put all the plastic surgeons out of business too.
Oh yeah, well that's probably why it hasn't happened yet. Or maybe they are the Photoshop for real life, huh?
Yeah. Anyway,
geniuses.
now Santa Fe did actually keep, I think, some of the original numbers on these cars. They just re-stenciled the reporting mark itself. They changed the USLX to SFLC. But the reason I'm doing this is because the picture I have has a different number on it. And even though I think it still starts with 117, the last two digits are different, and there's no way that I'm going to match the factory lettering to a decal sheet. It'd look funny if I just did two numbers, So I'm going to take the whole number off and then re-stencil the whole thing, and then it should look like it belongs there. I'm starting to see some black come up, so... there they go. They're starting to come off.
They're getting real thin there.
You just have to be patient with this. There's hardly any pressure on this brush at all. I'm just rubbing it.
Wait, microfiber brush? No, micro brush.
Microbrush is I think that's a brand name actually, but there's.
Right. But that's what it is, though, right? It's just microfibers on the end of a brush.
I believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what they call it. Yeah. There goes the 11. It's coming off. Now, a little warning. This doesn't always work. In fact, the Southern Pacific switcher that I was showing in the beginning of this podcast, my original thought, since it was already painted red and gray, was to just take the lettering off and renumber it. And I tried this, and it actually ate through the paint before it ate through the numbers. So I ended up with an undecorated model that had numbers on it. Whatever paint they used for those numbers, it was some good stuff. So... I ended up having to partly sandblast that one. I didn't completely strip it, but I did have to blast all the areas where it was lettered.
Who made that one?
Athearn.
So it was Athearn Nuclear Paint.
Yeah, that's the old Athearn too. I mean, when they were, made in, I think had a factory down in Southern California someplace.
What, are they made in China now? Or?
I think the new ones are, yeah.
Oh, nice. Of course. Even model trains aren't made in America anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. It's almost gone.
Yeah. So the trick to this is as soon as the lettering is completely gone, you stop and then run it under the sink. Just some clean water, or you can just dab some clean water onto it just to stop the reaction. Because
like on a Q-tip or something. Or?
You could use a Q-tip. I just usually actually just run it under the faucet because the car has no weathering or anything on it right now, so it's really not going to hurt it to get a little wet. You just let it dry out later.
So otherwise, if you keep it on there, it'll just eat through that orangish paint.
It'll keep going through the paint. Yeah, there's no such thing as a solvent that only takes off lettering. If there was, I'd love to have some.
That would be that magical black paint remover I was talking about.
Yeah, they will eat through the everything. But if a lot of times, depending on the model, again, it depends on the brand and everything. But this works pretty good on this Atlas car anyway. You can do this, and as long as you're relatively careful and you don't scrub too hard. If you start scrubbing too hard, you may also rub through the paint, because this is probably going to do a little bit of damage anyway. That looks like it's just about there's a little piece of number still left.
I don't know, it looks pretty good to me.
Okay, so I'm going to go rinse this now. So now I've rinsed the car, and if you'll notice, it's subtle, but this area is a little bit different looking than the surrounding paint because it's it basically taken the shine off of it. But when you put the decals on, before I put the decals on, I'm going to apply a clear gloss coat to the whole thing, and that should even that out. So ideally, you won't really notice anything being amiss when the car's all finished. Of course, I'm going to weather it a lot anyway, so that's also going to help to disguise any irregularities. But
wait, you're going to put irregularities on it,
right?
Weather,
Exactly, because the photo I have, the car's pretty dirty, so I'm going to try to reproduce that. But it'll end up probably looking a lot like the other blue car. So anyway, I'm going to keep working on this car. I have to do the reporting marks on the other side and on both ends. And next time, maybe we can work on it some more.
Okay, sounds good. So that'll do it for this video podcast. So make sure to check out the audio podcast. That will become active on September 15th. And remember to go on to Facebook. Find us on Facebook and like us. And you can follow all this stuff. We're going to be adding every podcast onto the Facebook page and also onto our YouTube page. So thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks.